had a spiritual experience, and I had the little girl that died in the fire, Cynthia Collins, and she had come to me to give him a message of forgiveness, of what I really didn't know, because I didn't know details of what she was forgiving him of.
The event that led Kenny Ritchie to his cell on death row took place in the town of Columbus Grove, Ohio. In 1986, 2-year-old Cynthia Collins burned to death in this house. Kenny, aged just 21, was charged with her murder and found guilty. After 21 years in prison, he was meant to be destined for the electric chair.
Is anybody there?
Who is that?
We're looking for Kenny Ritchie.
You found him.
Kenny, is that you?
Aye.
Hey, Kenny. Can't believe we found you.
It's not that hard, it's the only tent around.
Wow. We've been told you're living in a tent, but I still can't believe this. How long you've staying here already?
A few weeks.
Few weeks?
Mm-hmm.
Just because you have no other place to stay?
No other place to go.
What about friends, relatives?
Nope. Don't have any around here.
You don't have money to pay rent?
No. I wish. If I did, I wouldn't be here.
When I was reading about your story, I came across the fact that by the time of 2007, 2008, when you were about to release, you grabbed so much worldwide attention. So many famous people spoke out in your favor. It seemed like very much you got a second chance to get a fresh start, but something went wrong?
Everything went wrong.
My name is Kenneth Ritchie. I'm 54 years old. I spent 21 and a half years on death row in Ohio for a crime I didn't commit. The crime was arson murder. I have a 2-year-old child.
Kenneth T. Ritchie was tried in Ohio for aggravated murder committed in the course of a felony. Evidence showed that respondent set fire in the apartment of his neighbor, Hope Collins, in an attempt to kill his ex-girlfriend and her new boyfriend, who were spending the night together in the apartment below. The intended victims escaped unharmed, but Hope Collins' 2-year-old daughter, Cynthia, died in the fire.
We're going to Old Farm Village Apartments in Columbus Grove, Ohio. Is where the fire started and where my life ended. I haven't been to this place since July 1987. This will be my first time back there. Don't know how I'll feel about seeing it again. But there they are. That's the Old Farm Village Apartments. You can go. And that's the one that was on fire.
Old Farm Village apartment was pretty much an apartment that was low income. If you didn't earn a certain amount of money, welfare could pick you up in there and stuff like that. So, complex at parties, everybody was partying all the time, Be drinking and getting drunk,
Now see the balcony? Now, how is anybody going to climb up that with a broken hand in a cast, carrying 2 containers of gasoline and paint thinner, and drunk out their minds? It's impossible, can't be done.
On July 29th, 1986, there was a party at the Old Farm Village apartment complex. At the time, Kenny was suffering from depression and drinking a lot. That night was no exception.
It started about 12 o'clock noon and carried on into the wee early hours of the morning. The mother, Cynthia, she was off partying, getting high. And she had a couple lads stop by, friends of hers, a couple pals, and asked her if she would come out and party with them. She said yeah, but she needed a babysitter, so she came downstairs, and as she was passing me, she said, "Can you watch Scooty for me?" I said, and shook my head.
At the trial, Collins claimed that Richie had agreed to babysit her daughter while she was away, allegedly in exchange for letting him crash on her sofa that night. However, neighbors saw him falling into the bushes and passing out soon afterwards.
Passed out over there.
Where?
Over there. In the bushes.
And when you woke up?
I went to my apartment. I walked over to my apartment. My apartment's in the back.
And then you went over here just to see what's going on.
I came from the other side.
What was how big was the fire?
You could see a lot of smoke and flames.
And next thing I know, they brought out the body of Cynthia Collins. It wasn't a pretty sight to see a little girl dead like that.
Have you ever had any kind of, I don't know, like dreams about what happened, about Cynthia? I mean, while you sleep, some bad dreams?
No. No, not about that. No. We better get going. Hey, bro. How you doing? So you're at the house? Yeah. What's your address? Surprise.
Hey, man, what's going on?
He's a bloody hug then.
What are you doing, man?
Huh?
What are you doing? When's the last? No. I don't know.
2010.
2010. 8 years.
8 years.
Hey, my name is Stephen Ritchie, and I'm Kenny's youngest brother. How did we get along? Good. I mean, when we were younger, I looked up to him, you know, as, as 12, 13, I looked up to him. I mean, I haven't really, for 21 years, it wasn't really much of a relationship. He was in prison, so it's like, our relationship was phone calls, and that was it. Yeah, I was calling and concerned about Kenneth Ritchie, calling on his condition. The trial was pretty much a farce. They already had him guilty even before that trial started. A murder trial, and it takes 3 judges 45 minutes to declare that some guy's guilty, and death penalty.
The Ohio court was told that Kenny took advantage of the fact that the neighboring apartment had been left with only the 2-year-old victim inside. It was alleged that his intention was for the fire to spread to the lower floor, where his ex-girlfriend and her new boyfriend were sleeping. The case relied on the testimonies of people attending the party, who stated under oath that Ritchie was drunk and had threatened to burn down the building.
There was 3 people that said threatened to burn the building in some way. A building's I'm going to torch A section. I'm going to burn A building down. There's 3 different variations of it, and it was garbage. 2 of the people retracted their statements. People lie, and sometimes there's no explanation. The lying almost cost me my life.
As far as some of the evidence goes, let's go back to the fire marshal. The fire marshal stated that Kenny had poured gasoline on the porch also. And there was traces of gasoline on the porch.
Thank you. Please be seated.
Almost 20 years later, Kenny and his lawyers would prove that the investigation had been flawed, resulting in the wrong conclusions.
There was a brand new porch that was built when the fire marshal stated that. He didn't take chippings out of a charred porch. He took wood chips from a brand new built deck. But he stated they were charred.
Ohio Crime Lab screwed up and didn't do their tests properly, or didn't read them properly, because we had the best experts in the world take a look at it and said, no, this is not gasoline, and this is not paint thinner, false evidence, is what they presented, and the judges took it as face value. If you execute just one innocent person, that's reason enough not to have the death penalty. But they just don't do that over here. They'd rather kill you.
Well, we'll get going.
Yeah, now you gotta clean up your mess on the floor.
A bloody mess.
You had dirt in your shoes.
Yeah.
All right, man.
Love you, man.
I'm proud of Stephen, very proud of him. Stephen has done great for himself. He's got a beautiful family, nice house. Kind of jealous.
Since you have a brother living around, why you can't go to his place and stay for a while until you get back on fit?
He's never offered, and I'm too proud to ask. All those years were stolen from you. You need to try and make up for that. Get yourself a life, get yourself together. I've tried. And gotten knocked back every time. Just when things go good, the rug's pulled out from under me. So tired of bloody life.
At the time of filming, Kenny had no regular job or any kind of stable income.
My name is Arnold Ramsey. The project I'm working on here in Columbus is called Sanctuary Quarters. It offers housing and restoration for at-risk and homeless veterans.
They always have that, have you ever been arrested? Have you ever been imprisoned? Do you have a felony record? So most places won't hire you. Once you get that stigma attached to you, that's it, you're done. You don't have much of a life left.
I met Mr. Ritchie in end of October of 2017, so roughly a year ago. Gave him a place to stay, at least a roof over his head at night, and in exchange he would do menial tasks around the house during the day. Did he appreciate what I've done for him? To be honest, I'd have to say no.
He stopped paying me, He no longer paid me the $250 a week, said he couldn't afford it. I was paying no rent there. no utilities, but I wasn't getting any money. After I refurbished the house, he threw me out of the apartment, told me to leave, give me an eviction notice.
Arnold gave Kenny a place to live on condition that he get his act together and find a job to secure a steady income, but that never happened.
In his case, he drank extensively, and he was subject to drug use. Not only drug use, but a lot of the ills that come along with that, prostitution. And that's just not a way to renovate your life and get back on a positive path. He had an opportunity to redeem his life. He had an opportunity to erase years of imprisonment, and he didn't take full advantage of the opportunity. I think that Kenny hasn't forgiven himself for something. He's bitter, and I said, hey man, make it right, because it's eating you alive. You're just not happy with yourself.
When he took me to my cell and put me in it, I heard that door slam. It was, death row inmates are recognized by a red stripe that goes down the side of the pants, the side of the pant leg. That indicates you're sentenced to die, that you're there for execution. And every time you walk down the corridors of the prison, there's a dead man walking. Dead man walking.
Kenny never admitted guilt and launched repeated appeals to have his case reviewed. His death sentence was postponed with each new submission, but if one was refused, a new date and time for the execution was scheduled. Over his 21 years in prison, he was told on 13 different occasions the exact date and time when he would die.
It's depressing, it brings you down, It does something to you mentally. Every day another piece of me died.
I know that on one day they even prepared you for the execution. Can you recall that day?
I'd rather not, if you don't mind. My life is full of bad memories. I don't need to recap them, don't need to rehash them, don't need to remember them, don't want to remember them.
Kenny! What are you doing here? No, will you?
How you doing? What's with the oxygen tank, eh? Huh?
COPD.
Yeah, you too?
Yeah, but mine is bad, so you could too.
Why Vicky was so emotional? Because, she loves me, and because I'm so far away, Well, she lost me all those years ago.
I always knew that he was innocent because I read the papers, but nobody would listen.
We proved them wrong, though, didn't we?
I've been down this road with him forever. I'm 60 years old now, and I hardly got to be around my cousin because he was in jail.
In the early 2000s, the case of a Scotsman called Kenneth Ritchie, who'd been sentenced to death in the States, began to attract media attention on both sides of the pond.
I had a reporter, they contacted me, wanted to talk to me and stuff, interview me.
The kangaroo court, kangaroo judges, kangaroo prosecutor. They're all fools. They knew I was innocent.
When the article came out, that just went from there. It was like, a snowball. We had more newspapers contacting me, and then people started writing me. I had the band U2, the Proclaimers, Gorgeous Rex, Pulp, Sean Connery, Robert Carlyle, Ewan McGregor. Amnesty International came out and publicly stated that my case was one of the most compelling cases of apparent innocence that human rights campaigners I've ever seen.
In 2007, Kenny's lawyers came to an agreement with the prosecutors. The arson and murder charges were plea bargained down to child endangerment. This was enough to secure Richie's release, considering the amount of time he'd already spent in prison. Only one person in the courthouse still believed in Kenny's guilt: Valerie Binkley, the victim's aunt.
I have 6 pages here wrote. I know I can't make it through it, but I want you to know you fooled nobody. Not me, not that baby, not any of these people. You will burn in hell.
No, I never thought that Kenny could do something like that. He loves kids too much. He loves children, and he wouldn't do that.
Maybe you know the idea why so many neighbors and other people lied during their testimonies to get him.
He probably pissed somebody off somewhere.
Kenny started asking me the age-old question about going to hell. He always would talk about, am I gonna go to hell for what happened to Cynthia Collins? And I would tell him, again, for the millionth time, you were too drunk to remember what happened, and you didn't know the baby was there. And I really believed that. And he turned around, and in the most evil voice I had ever heard come out of his mouth, without an accent, he goes, oh, I knew she was there, and I knew exactly what I was doing. My name is Karen Diana Ritchie, and I am the ex-wife of Kenneth Ritchie.
Karen married Kenny in 2011, 3 years after he was finally released from prison.
I had no idea what I was getting into. I had no clue. Because I truly believed in his story about being incarcerated for 21 and a half years for a crime he didn't commit. And I thought, okay, I'll play into your ego, because I really wanted to know how the fire was started. And I thought, how can I ask this question? How can I get this information from him without him lying to me? I said, because you are just so incredibly smart. You outsmarted him. He goes, because they're a bunch of dumbasses. I'm like, okay. He goes, it was easy. He goes, you take a lit cigarette, take a book of matches, put it in the book, I threw it behind the couch, and then I walked down the street. 30 minutes later, place goes up in smoke, and they can't connect me to the crime. I didn't expect that. I was just absolute shock. I thought, I am married to Satan himself.
She's lying just to get money. You know, if I had said something like that, why would she wait 3 years to come forward with it? You know, that's just her trying to make money off papers, you know. How did I meet her? Met her on the internet, Facebook actually. She contacted me by Facebook and told me that my dead father had contacted her and told her that she needed to call me and get in touch with me. That was, trust me, that case.
Because I'm an intuitive, there are other spirits that decided to intervene, and one was his father. And his father came to me in the middle of the night. I opened my eyes in about same time of night, and I see this figure in the doorway. Shadow walked through the door, around the bed, and right next to me again, and grabbed my arm. He said, we need your help. And I need you to tell Kenny that he's been forgiven. And I'm like, okay. He says, we need your help to save his soul. The next night, I go to bed and I heard these footsteps on the carpet running to the side of the bed. course, I wake up and I look, and there's this little tiny, little, same size as my 2-year-old, right there. And I'm in shock. And she said, I need you to deliver a message for me. I need you to tell Kenny that I forgive him. I forgive him. And I said, oh, okay. She went out the door. I had a spiritual experience, and I had the little girl that died in the fire, Cynthia Collins. I have had very few of that kind of thing happen, where you shake to your core when you're around something so evil. With Kenneth Ritchie, that happened.
I'm a good person. People that know me all say the same thing. I'm a cool person. I'm a really nice person. At times, I'm too nice a person. You know, if I was a bad person, you think these cats would be around me? Huh?
Thank you so much for the interview. Sorry to get you on a trip to bad memories.
It's all right. I'll just go down and get me a few beers and get rid of them. It's how I control the pain.
Despite the claims of Kenneth Ritchie's ex-wife, the Collins murder case was never reopened. Karen herself wanted us to make clear that she received no money for giving this interview. After the fallout with Arnold, Kenny was unable to find a new job, and the lack of money meant he had to move out of the rented apartment and back to his tent in the forest.